Wrestling needs chaos at times, but there has to be reason for it. On
Well,
this
it,
show, there's no
again,
reason.
yes, and it happens intermittently, not constantly. But there's going to be repercussions over that. All right, let's get to the big one coming up next between Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. And why does Don Fallis never manage? He comes out with this guy and he goes, well, no, come on. He's watched enough TV.
It's not
He's
that
been
simple.
around me.
Hey, there's plenty of people on that roster that watch a lot of wrestling. Look at how they are in the ring.
Well, but nevertheless, he's old enough. He could have figured it out. No, he goes to Color, and there's already 3 guys over there, but he's not actively involved when his man has a match of any kind, which to me diminishes the importance of it, because I would only go over and do Color when my guys were fighting job guys, and I'd make mockery of them. But nevertheless, I know their wardrobe budget must be endless also, but is Kyle's new wearing apparel, including wearing a crown, is that from somebody in a video game? What video game is that from?
I have no idea.
Because, I mean, now he's gone from the blonde-headed kid, and then he became a heel, and he had an obnoxious blonde hair, but he was trying to put a look together, and then he was dressed like Michael Myers in Halloween one week, and then he shaved his head, and he's the king with the fucking throne or the crown, and I don't know what's going on here. But I thought it might be a video game.
I'm not sure. He's definitely, for someone who has his size, he's put on a lot of weight in the right way in the last year. He's one of the few guys on that roster that they've spent some time on. Not to say they do anything right.
But that he has actually improved his own appearance.
Yeah, and he has a look. Like, you could see him working for WWE, because I think he's like 6'5" or 6'4", so he already is taller than half the roster. Well, half. He's taller than the majority of the roster. But no, I think Fletcher's, I thought he looked good with the blonde hair as a heel, but I think he's done a good job of growing into being a American wrestler.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what I noted. And the problem, again, is the way that they book other people. They're trying to give Kyle a rub and get him over by having him beat a top guy, which the young guy beating the older established veteran who's a name, boom, brings you up. Yes, but the problem is Ospreay is the closest chance that they've got at having a star babyface. And the way they've booked him since he's been there, I don't think it's just, okay, now you're just another one of the boys when he's getting beat by Kyle, who right now, to me, needs developmental or a territory or something for 18 months, and you could really polish him up instead of doing it every week on TV. Let's add this, take that off, and subtract this and shave his head. And we're all watching it happen do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bring us the finished product after you've tried it out on the road. That would have helped him, and he'd be more polished, and he'd probably be more readier for this, because he's putting the work in physically and etc., like you said. But the same thing is later on with Swerve and Lashley. It'd be great to have this match later, because the guy just been there for 3 fucking weeks. But anyway, the problem is with this match, again, they're friends and they're putting it together, and nobody's going to tell them what to do, and that's why they did shit that their people would have told them not to do. They trade forearms at the bell and then start their spots at 100 miles an hour, and they're doing flips off the stairs a minute in. And Kyle does a great DDT and does great athletic moves and flips and all these big moves, and he throws punches like a fucking girl. Things like that. If you could get in the ring with a Dick Murdoch, who'd make you learn one way or the other, just a time or two. That's what helped a lot of guys. That opportunity doesn't exist anymore. But then Kyle gave Will a brainbuster on the floor, at 4 minutes into the match. And bear in mind, they're going past 20. And after the brainbuster on the floor, he rolled him in and tried to pin him down with a double finger lock. Did you catch that one?
I did.
It'd be like a guy trying to run across the interstate being hit by a fucking semi. And when he lands, you'd go over there and I'm going to smother him just to make sure. What the... So then, he got some heat on Ospreay. But then after some heat, Ospreay just came back and hit a flippy thing off the top to the floor and a forearm off the top. And then they stood there and allowed each other to chop them. I don't know how you say that sentence, to be honest with you. Allowed each other to purposely strike the other person without trying to prevent it. And then they started doing big moves, but none of them did damage. They might both lay there and sell after 3 or 4 of them for a little while and then get up and go 100 miles an hour and never... But there's not even time for a guy to take a bump before the other guy would shrug off whatever and do his own big move. And then Ospreay gave Kyle a tombstone pile driver on the floor. And at that point, Shivani started plugging the upcoming Continental Tournament. When people would have, on the other channel, they would have been screaming for a fucking ambulance and trying to kick the people out of the building for doing it. And that's why everybody's reacting to it. Over here, within 1 minute on the clock, the guy who got tombstone pile driven on the floor was 100% and is back doing big moves at 100 miles an hour. And so they're trying to be a video game because that's their frame of reference of what is cool combat to them, because they unfortunately are so young. They were not exposed to the wrestling business when they had access to numerous minds that would have told them how to fucking do this shit and how to think about it. So if you could do something special, you can work it into the rules of the game instead of having the NCAA finals where they don't have to dribble and they can tackle the fucking guy with the ball. So then they were on the apron doing shit back and forth while the referee stared gawkedly at them. And then Fletcher gave Ospreay a tombstone pile driver off the apron of the ring onto the top of the steel stairs.
Yeah, that was a bit much considering, again, the pile driver is kind of out there right now. And not saying you have to honor what another company does, but when another company puts over the pile driver the way they do, and then they do this kind of thing here, I don't know. Should one company, honor is not the right word, but honor what the other company's doing with a move like that? And
it's not even that. It's honoring logic and the integrity of your business. And why would you do something that's that risky that also means nothing and is so phony? And people ain't gonna remember it. I wouldn't have remembered it of all the pile drivers on the floor, except I wrote it down. But the point is, it's not honoring another company's rules or regulations or angles or whatever, to if you pick a motherfucker up and drop him from a height on his head on metal or concrete, that he should go down and stay down for a little while. That's the integrity of the goddamn profession. Because it's stupid otherwise. And what he gave him a tombstone pile driver off the apron of the ring onto the top of the steel stairs, and then rolled him in and didn't cover him. He hit a flying knee, and then he gave him a front pile driver and got a 2 count. And now it's just garbage. And I said, that was 22 minutes in, and I said, I'm done, it's horseshit. And I hit the fast forward button. And honestly, 2 minutes later, not of fast forwarding, but 2 minutes in actual time, that's where Kyle gave Ospreay a brain buster on the top turnbuckle, and it covered him 1, 2, 3, and just beat him. So the heel beats the top babyface by not cheating, and the manager doesn't help. But in the middle of the match, they each gave and survived moves and things that were much more devastating. And then, which is kind of like, I don't know what it's kind of like. It's kind of like stupid is what it's kind of like. So again, there's the bubble of fans that like this kind of thing thought that this was just tremendous. And this is why that their buildings are emptier and that people are more over when they get there. And the people like the idea of them than they are 6 months later when the people have seen them do all this shit over and over and there's nothing left. Fletcher needs developmental, like I said, for 18 months. And Ospreay, you know, you can't do a bunch of favors trying to elevate your friend when you've been diminished rather than enhanced since you've been on the television program. And neither one of you are characters in a video game. I know you have fun, but what did we say earlier? You know, too many guys are having the match they want to have for the persona that they want to play instead of having a match that the fans will like and understand based on the gimmick that you're working in who you are and how you fill that out, whether you appear visually to look like the gimmick that you are performing. And they don't understand that. They don't understand casting in Hollywood. Maybe we could put it like that. There's certain parts that certain people get cast for in Hollywood because they fit the fucking visual image of that person, and others don't get cast in those parts because they don't look the part. That's where that fucking phrase came from. Jump in anytime, Brian.
You know, I said this was in the middle of a string of matches where everything went 20 minutes. This went like 25 minutes. And I like these two, and I'm more tolerant of a, New Japan Dome finish or, minutes into the finish than you are. But this was too long for me. For these two in the middle of their, early stages of their blood feud. And then for me personally, once the spot on the stairs happened, I was like, this is ridiculous. And I was waiting for the finish at that point. And it took another few minutes. Because everything, that was every match from the, for the rest of this card. I'm waiting for the finish and it never comes. And there's just more and more and more.
Well,
but, the other thing is
a watched pot always rings twice.
The other thing is, I think the people there for the main card may have enjoyed this more than anything else. And that hurt everything else after this.
Well, yeah, because again, Ospreay is the closest thing they've got to a babyface superstar, and everything they do is to fight against that development. But and after that, what else can you do after this? They're just people that are uglier and don't look as good physically doing the same kind of fucking shit.